the processing of this kind of injustice, it doesn't really get better, and I don't want to say that because I don't want the Gibbs family to hear that. But, you know, here I am like 16 and a half years later, and there's like so much that I want to tell my dad, but I can't. There's so much that I want to talk to him about, like things that are hard as well, like things that I want to get mad at him about because he's my dad. But I can't do that because he's not here, and my whole process of going and representing my family in a public inquest, it was such a facade of like just police protecting police. Like it was laughable, it was comical, but it's not, because it's my life. But just to see these deep levels of police protecting police and the cover up of the brotherhood and how far back it reaches, not only in time but in layers within our justice forces, quote unquote. It's appalling, and it's appalling that we have to pay taxes that support that. Like that is, you know, it's such an injustice at so many levels that it's like sickening. And I think the things that can make it better for us as people that know this injustice is seeing other faces out there to support us, because that's the only thing we really have is community and family and the support of people that, you know, share the same alliances as us and share just the support and love of one another, which is something that I wish was taken to the level of police training to treat human beings like human beings. But we know that doesn't happen, and there's this weird disconnect that they do for whatever reason, that they think it's okay to inflict harm and ridicule and injustice. And yeah, I didn't want this to go down this really dark path, and my apologies, but it's just, you know, reality. And I just want the Gibbs family to know it's hard, it's gonna get harder, and it's gonna always be hard. And the only thing that's gonna soften that is the love and support of your family, friends, and community. And thank you all for being here for them today, because I know it means a lot. Thank you.
Tazara Chelak.
Hello everyone. My name is Caesar. Family name is Selik. I am the father of Koray Selik. He was also killed by the police, SPVM. We did not know Nicholas Gibbs. We heard about him through media. We saw incredibly brutal videos, murderous videos, and we read your stories. We are deeply sorry, and we stand by you. My son, Koray, was also killed as a result of extreme brutality and vicious assault by 4 SPVM officers in our own home. He was an unarmed young man of 28 years old at that time. This was 2.5 years ago. He was attending university towards his medical degree. On the night of his death, a few hours before his death, he proposed to his longtime girlfriend marriage, and only a few hours after his proposal, he was murdered. He was in crisis. He took doctor-prescribed, dentist-prescribed medication for his upcoming surgery, and while he was studying in my office for his exam at the university, he took a couple of glasses of wine. And whatever the reason, he went into crisis and he wanted medication to go to sleep. And we couldn't stop him. He wanted to go. He was peaceful but insistent. We asked for help. We called 911 to help him, to convince him to stay. Don't go, because he was either going to damage himself or somebody else on the road while driving. SPVM officers sent 4 to our home. At that time, our son calmed down and he was calmly sitting on his bed. They heavily provoked him and escalated the situation into first verbal, then physical violence, and they assaulted him with their metal batons and started beating him and charging at him. Our son didn't have any weapon. He only tried to protect himself by putting up his hands. He was attacked and forcibly pulled down on the floor, and his hands were tied on his back, and he was on his face down, laying on the floor. But that wasn't enough for the brave SPM officers. They need to show who the boss is. Their testosterone-filled mentality wasn't taking that. Having a young man under arrest wasn't sufficient. They continued beating him with metal batons. Although he was face down, they went down to kick him on the ribs on either side, kick him with their boots, one of them lying on his back, choking him in his mouth and nose, and the one who's holding his hand between his legs was making sure he could not move. He could not even defend himself. Our cries for help, our cries for stopping this brutal, vicious violence fell on deaf ears. They continued. We saw a taser flash while they were beating, and they suddenly stopped. My wife and I thought perhaps this is the end of the violence, and hopefully they will not subject him to further violence. But that wasn't the reason they stopped. We found out that he was dead. That's the only time they stopped. A man who is unarmed, whose hands are tied on his back, facing the floor, lying on his face, that's no good for our brave SPVM officers. They know how to kill a man very efficiently, but they do not know how to de-escalate a situation and tell the young man, hey, we are here for you. We are here to help you. We are not here to hurt you. Come on, buddy. Don't drive. We don't want you to drive. You're going to hurt yourself or somebody else. This is what you expect from the police of the people. But they are not the police of the people. They are the police of brutality. In fact, our police became one of the most brutal and vicious police force in the Western world. I would like to draw your attention to the fact that fatal police interventions in this country is 2 times the total of Germany, plus Austria, plus UK, plus Japan combined. This is our brave police force. But that is not how we are going to solve this problem. It goes much further. Police is protected by walls of silence and denial, and the laws and regulations are all designed to protect the murderers. Immediately after they murdered our son, they denied us the right to go to the hospital. Police unlawfully detained us and put us in a police van to interrogate us. This is against the law. BEI was supposed to come and investigate. They could not ask questions because it was a murder in the hands of SPVM officers. Therefore, it had to be investigated by BEI. We did not know this. We are not losing one person every year in our family. This was our first loss. We had no idea. And BEI hid this fact from us until I went public by giving an interview to a newspaper. After they decided these guys did their duty of murdering, nothing wrong, and they denied beating, they denied choking, they denied tasering of an unarmed, handcuffed man on the floor. They left the crime scene. They're not supposed to. Unlawful. BEI protected that information as well. They never disclosed that to anyone. BEI didn't come to the crime scene for several hours. There are so many irregularities, but why these irregularities are not being addressed by the ministers, by the authorities? I have written letters to the authorities. I have written to the Minister of Public Security. She is responsible for them. She said, we are not going to be able to make any comment because BEI is independent. This is a laughable statement. It is her office who chooses who goes into BEI. Most of the people who are working for BEI comes from the other building of police, goes to this new building, and they call it BEI. It is the same thing. Most of them are ex-police or police workers from the other building. Disgraceful. Police needs to be reformed, BEI needs to be reformed. Police does not know how to de-escalate. They only know how to escalate. They refused to take 1 week of de-escalation course. They said, we'll only send them for 1 day. Laughable. But they send them to courses how to apply violence for years. Where is the minister? Where are those authorities, I ask you? CBS News released an article, 126 cases and 0 criminal charges in Quebec. 0. About 1/3 of these are fatal. However, in Nova Scotia, 25% of them result in prosecution. That is what justice is about in this country. It doesn't exist for you. It exists for them. They investigated my son to find something wrong with him, but they never investigated the 4 officers who murdered him viciously and ran away from there and concocted a story based on illegally obtained statements that my wife and I gave. This is our brave police. These are our beautiful authorities. And these are our nonsense rules and regulations and laws. They all need reform. And there is only one way we can do, by organizing. Miss Tracy Wing, whose son Riley Failhorn was murdered as well. She is a brave woman, a magnificent mother. She organized a campaign to force the police to wear body cams. If they had body cams, these 4 murderers of my son would have been behind the bars by now. Or am I wrong? Yes, I am wrong. Why am I wrong? Because we know, we have a video, what is happening? Nothing is happening. So therefore the laws have to change and a lot of things need to be reformed. This is not about my son only. This is about all the other victims of the brutal police force. I invite you to support our cause. Without you, we cannot do too much, and they know that really well. If you noticed, it takes about 2-3 years minimum to finalize their